questions she has. So I just want to say thank you for being here. I'm so happy to be here. I love New York. Fell in love with New York after I did Broadway. It changed my life. It also was what prompted also me to just go ahead and write the book. So shout out to New York for that inspiration. But I thank you guys for taking the time to be with me. It means more to me than you know. So thank you.
I know. I'm taking these chairs home, right? Miss Palmer.
Yes.
What is the biggest misconception about KeKe Palmer?
Oh my goodness, we gotta take this thing out. The biggest misconception I think about me is people take me often. Huh? Oh, I do have one in my chair?
No, on your.
Oh, on my body. I forgot they had put that there. Once I saw that, I was like, but I think the biggest misconception is people often take me too seriously. Not to say that I'm not serious at any point, but I think, because of my characters and my dramatic career, a lot of times people have confusion when I'm showing different facets of my personality. When the reality is I'm just being me. I'm not trying to convince anyone anything. I'm just showing you a side you're not used to because you've primarily seen me as an actress.
Wow. Well, this is your writing is impeccable. It is passionate. The audible version. In fact, New York Times is tracking KeKe's amazing sales for her book. So we need you to push it over the top internationally between now and Sunday. If you already bought a book, buy 20 more, because we need to take this so that she will be the youngest person in publishing history to be on the New York Times bestseller list.
Write that,
I know.
I feel, oh man, it's a load off me.
It's difficult, it's not easy. This is not one of those so-called surface, so-called celebrity books. This is something that obviously comes from your heart. And you quote Dr. Martin Luther King, his quote where he says, "If a man has not discovered something he will die for, he isn't fit to live." What inspired you to include this quote in your book?
Because I think death is what really drives a lot of humans to act crazy at times. The fear of dying, when the reality is we all gonna die. You know what I mean? So you can't live your life afraid to live because you're afraid of the ending. You have to know it will end one day, so how can I make it worthwhile? How can I make my death not in vain? How can I make the time that I was able to spend here as a human being something that was not wasted on frivolous things? And I think that's what Martin Luther King meant when he said that. It's like, you shouldn't be afraid of being in a high intense situation, like he was. You shouldn't be afraid of those things because that is what motivates you to even be excited about life. If you're not fighting for something, if there's no purpose that you have, what you getting up every day for? Money?
Well, some people are. Some people are.
But I've had a lot of it. And it's a way you're playing a silly game. You get what I'm saying? I was able to have, I remember, there was one weekend when I was doing True Jackson VP where I was like running up my credit card bill every weekend, $7,000. And my dad was like, "This isn't normal, KeKe." You know what I mean? My parents always had to let me know these things aren't normal. And then I always have to let myself know shopping ain't gonna make you happy. You're depressed. You're depressed because you feel isolated by your career. You feel like your fame has not allowed you to connect to your peers. Those are the real issues. When I actually involved myself in community services, thank God my parents, really made that, encouraged that and pushed me towards that. Those were the times where I really got to see how obviously what the world tells you should do versus what you really should be doing are so in a discord. The world tells you should be looking for outside validation because that's kind of what Western civilization is. We're all about buying things, selling things, marketing, media, to the point where we become disillusioned about what life really is about. And we're sitting here trying to do all these different things and we're getting more and more and more unhappy, and before we know it, we're in a slump and we don't know how we got there. And it's because we forgot about true, real connections, things of the heart. We're human beings, but really we're spirits. And when we don't acknowledge that, we feel vacant and it's no good.
But there are a lot of people, and maybe there's someone here in the audience saying, well, KeKe, we understand that you feel confident and powerful, but I'm someone, I live, and this is my circumstance, and they'll put the words on it. What would you say to them? I can't do that. I feel powerful in not being powerful and doing nothing.
Yeah, because it's a habit. That's all I would say to them. You're living in a mental construct that has told you that this is what's good and what's normal. You're allowing the perception of your reality to limit you in life. And I would just say we have to change your mind. And that's what this book is about. The book was also about me changing my mind. That's the whole process that I was going through of reworking all the things that I felt did not allow me to be great. All the things that told me you can't do that, or this really isn't possible, or girl, just forget it, or you'll never be anything other than the girl from KeKe the Bee. Those are all the things that we go through because we create defense mechanisms, things in our brains. And the practices that I learned allowed me to move that to the side, treat myself more objectively. That way I could work more efficiently.
And so you also say that as a child, you made an unconscious vow to always follow the voice of my heart wherever it leads me.
Yeah, I think as a kid it was much easier. I think what we all had as kids is what we have to go through the process of losing, which is confidence. You know, immediately as a kid, I had no questions about God. I didn't try to intellectualize him. I was just like, God is with me. I didn't, it wasn't even a conversation. It was just like, God is. But then as you grow and you start to experience life, everything really does distract you. And it starts to put in your mind other things that you should focus on because you're just trying to be normal. You're just trying to fit into society. You know what I mean? But that is the journey. The journey is to go through that. That's not, and that's my point there as well. It's like, you may look at me, you may think because of my life that it's so different or much better than yours, but no, we all are going through that same thing. No matter who you are, where you are, we all are losing ourselves and finding ourselves and losing ourselves and finding ourselves over and over and over again.
What is the role of an artist?
The role of an artist to me is to express their testimony or express the way in which they've been able to see the world because of their situations that no one else can. We all live in our own realities and we all experience many different things that shape the way we see the world, and they're all special. You know what I mean? Even when we think about people that we're like, oh, they're angry, that expression of anger, it releases the anger out of us because the reality is that that's a real emotion. And all emotions are necessary, like the movie Inside Out. Have y'all seen that? Yeah. I love that movie because, we're always told that we're supposed to be happy, happy, happy. I just want you to be happy. To the point where you feel like you're an asshole when you're not happy. But you don't always have to be happy all the time. Happy, we have happy, sad, mad, angry, all those things because they're all necessary. Those are all the human emotions that we're meant to experience here. So I just, I hate sometimes when people put so much emphasis on happy because it makes you feel weird when you're not. And it's not weird at all to not be happy all the time. It's not weird.
It's your right.
It's your right.
Exactly. What kind of decisions, hard decisions did you have to make as an actor in terms of accepting a role or not accepting a role? Or do you think you should just, what kind of specific decisions do you make in terms of what you should do or not do?
I think it's all about, staying true, staying true to the integrity of who you are. And for me, early on, even though as a kid I couldn't really understand it all, my mom tried to break those things down to me. Like after I did KeKe the Bee, it was such an important role to her for me to play because she was like, man, I feel like it'll really do a lot for the community. I feel this message will really resonate with African American communities specifically, especially those that grow up in the lower income communities such as myself. So with that movie, it was like immediately the messaging that my mom wanted me to have for all of my career. But then as time went on, people wanted me to be a part of many different things. And I remember I got offered a show on, I think it was, I don't want to say the network necessarily, but it was a major network, and they wanted to pay me like $30,000 an episode. I was only 10 years old, and the character, her mama was on drugs. She came out with a gold tooth, and the daughter was, very stereotypically the, Boys and Girls Club type of child. Ignorant child that, the white person comes in and helps. And my mom just felt like it was a complete undermining of what I was trying to build and what I was trying to represent. So even though I was 10 years old, I didn't really understand exactly what she was saying, I did know that there was a thought process that went behind roles and choosing roles and why. And my parents continued that theme throughout my career, involving me with Burton's King, involving me with Saving Our Daughters, urban farming, different things that always allow me to see and know that I'm meant to do something more with my platform. And then my parents started talking to me about Muhammad Ali and Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee, and how back in the day, young people with platforms, it would almost be a disgrace for them to not say anything that would help to further the community.
Sure. And so let's go back to what in the introduction, July 7th, and you put out a call on social media that come to Melba's restaurant in Harlem, and we have to have a meeting. Talk about why you decided to do that.
Because I think that's what's missing. I think we keep throwing rocks at the White House, and anything that's ever happened of positive movement within our communities has never come from the big ups. It's always come from the ground. And I think we aren't really taking the responsibility that we have for each other. I mean, honestly, Martin Luther King, when he said don't go to work, when he said don't take the transit system to work, they had carpools, so people could still get there and really still continue to further themselves. Malcolm X, he came into the community and really helped build centers in communities where kids could get breakfast and they could get lunch and things when they couldn't, their mom wasn't home when they came after school. So I feel like we're leaving so much up to people that aren't involved in our everyday community that it's almost a joke. People were so happy about Obama being president, but they didn't even work on making sure they voted for their local elections, so he had an even House of Representatives. So it's like you didn't even really help my brother out there. Like you were glad he was there, but you didn't assist him in anything. So I feel like it's like, the government's not great, but the government's never been great, and the system's not broken. It's working exactly as it should. So if we really want to fix it, we have to start talking to each other. Like
there was an infamous person that once said, "Blessed is a government with an ignorant electorate."
Yes.
An ignorant and apathetic electorate. You know who said that? Hitler. Okay. So governments
and that's why we have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
That's why we have to talk to each other. Because then and not talking to each other, dividing ourselves, saying, yo, you oppressed? Shit, me too. How can we fix this? Because we all culturally have our different oppressions. I know mine as an African-American woman, but what about the African-American man? What about the Jewish man? What about the Mexican woman? What about the LGBT community? All these different things that we separate are really just human. Human people that are that often are controlled by separating one another and causing so much discord between one another that they can never really come together and see the real discord between the citizens and the government. So when we spend so much time hating on each other, that's the real game. I got you hating on each other so much you can't even see what I'm doing.
We would love to hear any questions that you may have. You could form a line sections about, getting a record deal.
That getting a record deal is the end all be all. I think so many musicians, including myself, think that when you get a record deal, everything is all good. A record deal, especially in today's day, record companies really almost are only working as distribution companies. So you're having a situation where you're going somewhere thinking that these people are going to help you to express who you are to the world, and you're going to be disappointed every time, because that's not how they work, especially after the era of the Master P's and so on, because Master P created a production company and a blueprint for creating your own production company and just getting the distribution money from the labels to get promotion, to radio, touring, etc. So when that came into the game, the record companies really laid off a lot of their, especially the urban department, for developing artists. Systems like Motown, LaFace, they're really old ideas of things, because nobody really takes the time to help an artist figure out how to express themselves to the world. The Diddies, the Bad Boys, those things really don't exist anymore unless they're in a production front. So my whole opinion, or my whole thing to say this to an artist or an individual trying to pursue music, is you don't need anything but your creativity and a couple of people that believe in your dream. We have the internet now. Artists aren't controlled by not being able to be seen anymore, because there is now a million different facets in which you can get your music across. And at the end of the day, there are people that will support you. You just have to find them.
And even if they don't,
and even if
what?
That's just not realistic. You know why? Because everybody plays a role. Everybody has a part. I think problems really occur when everybody thinks they want to be that person. I want to be that famous person. I want to be the star. But every other role is just as important. You know what I mean? Like Quincy Jones was just as important as Michael. And I think sometimes what happens in our world is that we end up fighting one another because we all want that spotlight. But the spotlight isn't for everyone, and the spotlight isn't all that great anyhow.
You know, you recently, a lot of interviewers who I feel that they should know better have questioned, a recent, publicized scenario. What I appreciated in terms of your response, first of all, when you're harmed, that you should always speak out.
Yeah.
How do we get to the place where, particularly young women or women, when they're harmed, then the questions are always asked of them.
What did you do to do that?
Right. Why did you leave? What were you wearing? It must have been you. But when you spoke out, for example, for Alton Sterling and Philander Castile, two black men that were murdered, no one asked them what were they wearing, why did they leave, why did they run faster?
Because of the phrase, boys will be boys. I feel like those type of phrases, that idea, the ideology, or how you would say it, is really what has brought us to this place where we have the president talking about some, whatever he said about grabbing the vagina.
Right.
That is normalized. Because we stopped talking. We all stopped talking. When the reality is, don't nobody like to be sexually harassed, man or female. Nobody likes to. Nobody likes it. But we all just say it's normal. When you walk down the street in New York, y'all, you guys hear guys sometimes, hey, baby, hey. But you just be like, I don't care about his ass. But the reality is, that's not cool. You think that's normal for you to yell at me down the street while I'm walking? Stop.
Right. Let's take some questions, okay?
Crying is good.
You can do it, darling. You have a voice, so let us hear it.
Yeah, we all dying to hear.
I haven't went in a while.
Church is a great performance ground. If you're nervous a little bit, singing in church is what gave me my confidence, because they really will clap for anything. It don't really matter, honestly. That's why, seriously, it doesn't really matter in the beginning if you're terrible or not. As long as the heart is there, the feeling is there, that's what it's about in church. And that can really be an opportunity where you ain't got to pay nothing, you ain't got to do nothing. They'll be lucky to have you. And you can really get an opportunity to get out there and shake some of that shyness off of you.
And I think you mentioned something. You don't have a right to not let your voice be heard. You don't. Everyone's waiting for you.
Yeah, it's
the
true.
world's waiting for your voice.
It's true, we need it.
Yes. Okay?
That's why you make it. And practice is what you make it. So sometimes I pray, sometimes I meditate, which is me sitting silently and allowing God's energy to kind of just encompass me. And then other times I'll do yoga. And meditation is not something that you need to be hard on yourself for, because like you said, those thoughts are going to come. And it's not about you trying to control them. Don't try to control them. Let them fly by and just watch it. Because the reality is, the thoughts in your head are not you. Because how are you watching them if they are? You know what I'm saying? So don't own it, because it's not you.
And in this book, really sit with it, because KeKe provides really a guided meditations for you and questions to ask yourself so you can silence the noise.
Yeah, because that's all it is. It's noise. Regurgitated things you've heard, you've seen, that have been shown to you. That's really all that the mind is. It's a computer. So whatever's been put in it, that's why it's so angry what they say to black men, because you constantly are putting images that make them feel like shit. Well, why do you think they fucking feel like shit? Honestly, if you keep telling someone that, so it's like we have to take ownership of the idea that the brain, it's not about, we always are blaming the people, the culture, the person. It's the mind. Mental health is real, and it's, when we don't treat it as such, we then blame ourselves for everything. When it's not you, it's just the mind, the brain.
Thank you.
It's really a blind faith. Faith is really about, it's just taking a chance of it. And that's something that really was hard for me to accept. But the reality is, when good things happen to us, we don't say, why did this good thing happen to me? We only ask when bad stuff happens. But the reality is those things help to shape you. You don't know what it's going to be like when you actually become a doctor. So God has to prepare you through the journey now. So when you get to that position, you're going to be looking back saying, oh, because what's the name, woo, I can handle this. And that's really all that it is. So we really have to have faith in the journey that everything is happening for a reason. Whatever setback, whatever detour, it is all necessary. And you know that it's true because you can look at your life. You can look at your past life and see that you've been prepared for the moment you're in now. So just trust it. Looking back, I remember my dad, I told my dad, I said, Dad, how can I know that things will be good? He said, because of your past. I'm like, you sure right. So just take the leap of faith. That's really all that it is, and trust that it'll be all right. Because it will. There's no way that it can't.
And after this talk, KeKe will be signing books next door in Auditorium B. Hello.
Literally practices, that discipline of practicing things. That's all that it is. It's not me being a special person. It's me literally using the task, using the tools at hand. So, like I said, taking my time for yoga, taking my time to eat well. But we don't realize that the food that we eat also plays a factor in how we think and feel about ourselves too. Like when I eat cheese, I feel more insecure about myself. I feel, and it's not because, oh my gosh, I'm eating cheese. It's literally the effects that drinking a cow's milk has on me. Like I shouldn't drink that. But I know that when I do, it's going to cause that effect. So I have to accept that and know that, again, that's not me. This is what is affecting me. So really, it's just about practicing things that are going to allow you to feel confident about yourself. It's many different things for different people. It could be journaling, getting it out. It could be, like I said, yoga, meditation. There's so many different tools that you can use, but that's really all that it is practicing to not allow your thoughts to affect you and to really be what guides you. Is be quieting the noise and finding your voice, your heart, and allowing that to speak, making your heart's voice much louder than the other one. And that's just practices of making it, of putting it in the forefront.
Number? No. Well, I think she's starstruck. Janelle is actually a print and Romy model, and she loves to do it, but she gets really shy. Right
She's
now.
probably trying to process how she's not behind a TV screen.
No, because can I just tell y'all, when I met she and Tamara Mori, I was doing an episode of Strong Medicine, and I was I think either 10 or 11, and I was talking to oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet Tamara, oh my gosh, yeah, talking to my mom, all this stuff. Yeah. Literally, Tamara comes into my room, she's like, hi, KeKe, nice to meet you. I'm like, she's like, so, are you gonna have fun on the show today?
There you go.
Literally, so I feel you, my sister.
There you go.
Thank you. Somebody working out over here. Nice to meet you, by the way. Thank you.
It's okay to be vulnerable in front of the people that look up to you.
It's so crazy that you say that because being vulnerable is so hard for me. I feel like it's not something that's easy for me. So for you to say that you felt I was vulnerable in that book, that means so much to me because it's not something that's been easy for me to do since I was a goddamn kid practically. But I think it's just about being truthful to yourself, like you said, and not being afraid. Like I just have to start. I have to start not being afraid of. It's okay to feel the way that I feel. I think a lot of times we always are questioning ourselves for, like your mom passed. Of course you're gonna be sad. That's fine to be sad, but we're just so quick to tell ourselves, to try to stifle our own feelings. But if you was your friend, and your friend was telling this, you would say, oh my man, it's gonna be good. You would comfort him. You would say it's gonna be all right. You would give him words of encouragement. And you would let him know that at the end of the day, life does end. And it's not our final stop. We get so attached as human beings to our life. But who said this was the end? This is just what we know for now. We don't know anybody that's done after that. But I think being vulnerable is something that we all kind of maybe struggle to do. But at the end of the day, when you're there, and other people will see it. And that's the gift that happens when you do. You're able to make connections. So that's why I'm so thankful that you feel that way about the book, because that's what I really wanted, was to be able to be open enough with people that they can see the real me.
You succeeded.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely succeeded. Hello.
Hi, KeKe. Hi. When you just was like, you've had it, like you've had enough.
You know what? I don't know why this specific day, but have any of you guys in the audience read the book?
Started to.
Someone started. Anybody read the Love Unlimited chapter?
Yeah.
So in the Love Unlimited chapter, I talk a little bit about that, which is I was dating someone. I have been dating them since I was like 15, and when I dating them till I was 20 years old, so 5-year relationship, and it was just I was very unhappy in the relationship, very, very unhappy, and I just started, the relationship had gone from being abusive to being just kind of stagnant and extremely unemotional. And at that point, I was like, why would I ever think I deserve this? Whoa, I just thought to myself, damn girl, we got some self-esteem issues here.
Right.
Because if you think that you deserve to be in a relationship where nobody even knows how to show that they love you, what's going on? And so that was the breaking point for me to realize that something was off. And then that led me to realizing that all these other things, which is that I wasn't living for my passion. I wasn't living for my purpose. The reason why was because I hadn't forgiven myself for a lot of things. And I wasn't forgiving my parents for a lot of things. So I was really killing myself with resentment, anger, all this turmoil that I didn't know how to get out. And that's when I realized, because I couldn't allow myself to die like that. Even though I was living, I couldn't allow myself to die, and I just was like, get me out!
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all about trying stuff. And I think that's why the whole really getting to know you is the main part of our lives. Because when we get to know ourselves and learn ourselves, that's really what allows us to know what makes ourselves tick. And then also it leaves us open to be willing to try more things, because we're not, controlled by our inhibitions or anything. So it's finding yourself and getting comfortable enough with yourself to put yourself in different positions and be able to really truly gauge how you respond and act and know how to go forward from there. That's what I love about Broadway so much, because in California there's only one industry, the Hollywood industry. It literally is the most, it's so obnoxious to the whole Los Angeles lifestyle, to the point where it was suffocating me. And I didn't even really realize that. But when I came to New York, I was exposed to so many different things, and I really treated myself as a science subject. I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of learning on, meditations, different practices, and then I would just say, do things I never would do. I'm gonna go out by myself. I'm gonna turn my phone off. You know what, I'm gonna go to the strip club. And I just would try different things that would really pique different interests and ideas and concepts in my mind that would allow me to be more creative. So it's about having fun. And that's what I hate when we put so many labels and regulations on ourselves, because it really stops the fun process that is finding and discovering your passion. And then to answer your first question, I think and my passion is what attracted me to the arts, but I think my life in Hollywood did create the habit of being a workaholic, which is, even though it's socially acceptable because of the kind of world we live in, it's no good for you. And that's something I struggle with to this day, is being a workaholic. And that's why when I be seeing Beyonce have kids and stuff, I be so happy, because I'm like, okay, I can still do it. But that's the real issue for me, is the habit of being a workaholic, which came from being a child entertainer, absolutely.
Thank you.
My story as a backdrop to really settle the score, because I just hate how celebrityism and the fame thing has really allowed people sometimes to not see themselves on that same pedestal they put others on. Because the reality is, I'm not, there is no anything. Fame and popularity is just a side effect to my specific dreams. But what I've gone through and what I experienced, the trials and tribulations, the themes of my life are no different from anybody's, because that's when we put ourselves in Jesus' shoes. That's what his story is meant for. It's not meant for us to just be like, you did that, Jesus, now I'm gonna go here and be a fool. No, it's like, I too am God's child. So I can too live in this truth, in this, exaltment of knowing that I'm eternal, and I can try, and I can fail, and I can get back up again, and I can be great. I am that I am. All that. So. Even though I came from a community that wasn't about that, I think it was easier for me because my immediate family was about that. I came from a very artsy fartsy family. And my mom and dad actually were looked at as very weird in their family, because they wasn't, into all that stuff. My auntie would be having dog fights in the basement, and my mom had to have speech to them. So my mom was very, seen as weird, and my dad too, because they were into that. But I would say that the reason why you should not feel weird is that, girl, we need somebody in musical theater to put a show on that came from where you from. I want to see that. You know what I mean? How cool would that be to see something that really represent us in musical theater, where somebody is really put some R&B to it, some real, a storyline that we can connect to, like a musical brotherly love? That would be crazy. So that's why we need it, because you're the only one that can see that. So that's why it's so important for us to embrace our differences and things like that, because I need to see your vision, because that's not mine. Your expression of God is completely different from mine. That's why it's so important to see it, because then we're like, damn, God is great.
Thank you.
We always gotta go to church. No, I don't want to be here. And as I've grown and matured, I realized, oh, we go to church to be with like-minded people. That's why people come to church together, congregations. Not necessarily immediately, I'm so strict to the religion. It's about I'm with people that I know are on the track that I'm on, trying to at least, trying to at least be one with themselves and on some positive stuff. So once I thought about that, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's really what it's about, getting around like-minded people that can continue to help you encourage you to stay on your path.
Thank you.
Because you're special. We're special. And that's why it's unfortunate we don't know that, because we give away everything so quickly. We don't even realize our worth. It's like, why do you think I have more to protect than you do? We all have something to protect. Just because I'm a celebrity don't mean I've got to be very more protective. No, even if you aren't known by a million people, you still need to protect your energy. Our energy is very special. What we have to offer to anyone is special. And if you don't know that, you'll get sucked dry. And before you know it, you'll be sitting there like, you'll be like Space Jam. Remember when they touched the ball? That's what you'll be like. You'll be putting your hand all over that ball, getting all your talent sucked out. So you got to know what you have to offer so people can't feed off it without giving you something back. Everything has to be a give and receive.
Did you have Natasha?
Now, it don't mean that every time anything happens, you got to go to your Instagram or you got to go to, it's about you really knowing and taking the time in which you wish to say what you want to say, as long as it's really true to you. You know what I mean? And that's really how I gauge things. Because sometimes a lot of stuff be going on and people say, you ain't gonna tweet about it? And I'm like, no, because I ain't really feeling it like that. So it's about what you feel. You know what I mean? It's about what you feel. Don't need to jump on every topic, but when it's true to you, say something, because that's when people need to hear it, when it comes to you.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Get the jump rope.
LCHRITUDE, pulchritude.
Correct.
Every time I think about the pulchritude, I think about Angela Bassett at the end.
Yes!
Everybody's like, P-U-L, da-da-da, and then at the end says Bassett.
Okay, we have one final question, and then we're all moving to the signing area.
I love that jacket she's wearing.
Yeah.
Right. We're attached and we are actively vibrating on a level in which that keeps us from being limitless. When we realize that life really is a fantasy, because that's all that it is, we don't really know. I mean, honestly, there's nothing concrete per se that somebody can immediately say, oh, this or that. Life is a fairy tale. It is what we make it. Miracles happen everywhere around us. It's a miracle that we're here. How do we, you know what I'm saying? Right. So that's why I stress that, because I realized, I thought that way very young. But then over the course of life, we become so invested in our storylines, the storylines that make up our life, that we forget that we can change it up at any given moment we want to, because it's ours. There's a really great, I wish I had my phone, because I would read you guys a quote. Is my phone within reach? Okay. I'll read you something very quickly on the topic. Okay. I think I might have posted something like it on my page, but, for those that don't follow me, give me 2 seconds. Voltaire said, God is a comedian playing to an audience too afraid to laugh. The world can be an intense place, and it's easy to get seriously caught up in the drama of our lives. There's a story about a woman who had a reoccurring nightmare where a monster was chasing her, and she would frantically run away from it in a state of absolute terror. One night, she was barely managing to stay ahead of the monster, when bam, she hit a wall, and there was nowhere to go. The monster caught up to her, and the woman cried out, oh no, what am I gonna do? The monster looked at her and said, I don't know, lady, it's your dream. Our life is our dream. As our consciousness is evolving, more and more people are waking up to the awareness that we are all interconnected, and life is one big mirror reflecting back to us our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. God is now playing to an audience that's beginning to get the joke. It's a miracle. And that's literally how I feel. We spend so much time trying to intellectualize life instead of having fun with it. Life is a fun experience. We're all such special people, and it's so exciting to sit and take time to get to know one another as opposed to judge one another. Even though that's, for whatever reason, what seems interesting, that's not how we are made up. We're naturally a democratic people. What we do now is talk. Just like Martin Luther King said, the things we do that are ridiculous and ignorant, that's the stuff that's taught. Because by nature, we're very pure people. That's stuff that we taught. We can unlearn all of it. Give me a hug, girl. Crying is good. I love crying. Thank you for coming.
So, about 2 years ago, when you did, was it about 2 years ago?
Which one?
The Broadway.
Yes. 2 years ago.
It was a Christmas present to come see you. And now it's a birthday present. So it's my birthday, and that's why
Happy birthday! It's okay. Take your time, honestly.
So, my boyfriend, he always, like, if we're over, you know, just spend the day together, he's like, you wanna watch a movie? I'm like, can we watch a Killer the Bee? He's like, again? I just love you. To be honest, I don't have a question. I just want to be
I love you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. What's your name? Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Natasha. Happy birthday to you. Please, don't even worry about it, girl. This ain't mine. Meanwhile, my stylist is like,
Hi, KeKe. My name's Alex.